What is going on, people, and welcome back to the channel. In this video we have a test drive of a vehicle, but it is slightly different because I've been driving this one for a couple of weeks now. So it's not my traditional get in a car, use it for half a day and then give my opinion on it. I'd say there's much more context to this one. It's because I've had more chance to use it and more chance to find out what I like and what I don't like about it. So in this video we are in the BMW 2 Series. And when I got told I was getting a 2 Series, I got pretty excited because maybe you've clicked this video thinking about a different car. Because the 2 Series I was thinking about was the Coupe 2 Series that is what I would say quite a sporty looking car. And I've never really looked at one of these and kind of acknowledged what it is before. And it wasn't until that I was looking for it in the car park and someone said, yeah, you got a 2 Series just out there. I went out to go try and find the 2 Series and this is what I was presented with. So yeah, it is in actual fact a 2 Series, but maybe not the one that you or I were expecting. That being said though, this is surprisingly a nippy car. This is quite a small car. It's the 220, and yeah, it's got some go to it. Now I do struggle to understand where this quite fits in the BMW range, and I mean it's obviously got a caption market, which is why BMW are making it, but it does present itself as quite, for want of better words, an old person's car. I don't know why, it's just got that, it oozes that old A-class look to me, and I'm not sure what it is about that style of car, but it makes me think that it is for old people. I was thinking about whether it's like the bonnet to dashboard ratio, so when the bonnet is the same length of the dashboard, does that make it feel like an older car? Yeah, maybe I'm going off on a bit of a wild one there, but if you think about that for a second, all the cars what are pretty hideous that you would associate with old people are the ones what I would. Yeah, the bonnet to dashboard ratio is usually about 50-50. Now in this car, the bonnet to dashboard ratio is not actually 50-50, but it feels that way. The bonnet feels quite stubby. So yeah, it kind of falls into the same areas like the Golf Plus, for example. Like, I don't know about you, but for me, the Golf Plus, it seems like an old person's car. It's like a Golf that's a little bit bigger. I think it's a little bit more raised off the ground, so it's easier to get in and out of for people with less mobility than others. It just feels like that target market, and that's where this car sits for me. And I guess it goes back to that, if you told someone you had a 2 Series and then you turned up in this, and you might not be bothered what people think, but this is not a 2 Series in my opinion. People say 2 Series and I've got that sporty coupe look in my mind, and then this is just not it. This is, yeah. But technically on the back it says it's a 220. So aside from that, aside from the fact that it falls into an old person's category, the car is a very, very nice car to drive. I put probably going on 1,000 miles. So I've definitely put the miles on and I've driven it and I've definitely got some use out of it. It's quick for one, and I know that it's not rapid and it's definitely not an M2. It'd be interesting if they did make an M2 in this shape of 2 Series, that'd be interesting to see. But it's a quick car. It's definitely no slug. It's got the efficient dynamics, so when you're braking, you then charge your batteries. It's not any form of plug-in hybrid. You can't connect it to the wall and charge your batteries. But yeah, when you slow down, you feel an element of resistance that comes into play, and then on the dashboard you get the little blue light that comes up that tells you that you are super economical and you're charging your batteries. One of my things that I do truly love about these new BMWs, especially compared to my older BMW what I've got, so for those that don't know, I've got a 2011 BMW X6, is this dashboard. And I don't even think this is the premium dashboard. I'm sure you get better clock structures than this in the BMW range, but this one in particular, it's like, it appears to be flat, but it's got so much depth to it. There's like 3 or 4 different layers of LCD or display screens that when it's off it gives this illusion that it's a black screen, and then when it's on you see like the back layer is the RPM and the speed, and then the next layer on top of that is just the arrows that indicate where you are, so where you know the bits that line up with your needle to show you, yeah, I'm doing 65 because I'm in between 60 and 70. Those little markers are on the second layer, and then finally you've got the needle itself on its own layer, and then you've got kind of a front layer, which is where you've got this main LCD screen in the middle that synchronizes with the sat-nav that is built into this, and it gives you displays and lets you know when to take the turn. And I really like that. It's not too much in your face. It's very subtle. Like, I really like the Audi's virtual dashboard system, what they've got. I think that's fantastic that you can get the full screen on there, but I think it just does get a bit too much. I had one of them for a while, a couple of months ago, and it was fantastic, but it was very gimmicky. It took me quite a while to figure out how to get Google Maps on it, and then when I finally did get Google Maps on the display there, it was gimmicky. I wasn't really using it that much. One thing I do really like what they've done is they have kept quite a lot of button functionality. For anyone that's gone to a more modern car and then they've made everything touchscreen, Audis are pretty bad for doing this at the moment. Everything's on the touchscreen, everything's on the screen itself. You know, you want to move chairs, you want to do that sort of stuff, it's all on the screen. Whereas this one, there's quite a lot of buttons still. I mean, the button to switch it from sport to eco mode is a button. It's a lever, it's a switch. Whereas I'm sure in other BMWs it is definitely on the display, so whether they've gone back to this, because this is a brand new car, whether they've gone back to this to make it like that for the future, that's great. And also all of your temperature dials, they're on there as well. And that is one thing I miss from how I've installed the new media interface on my BMW X6, is that it has put a lot of stuff onto that screen, and yeah, it's nice and it looks cool to start with, but it's definitely easier to just turn a dial. And yeah, you'd be happy with that and you're on your way rather than navigating through certain menus. One thing that does really bother me about this is that I can't really see where it's blowing out at. There's no real display of, when I press the button that changes where it blows out, like on my feet, on my body, on my face, on the windscreen. You press that and nothing seems to happen. Now, that's probably an error in my part for not learning the system, but you see a button, you press it, you would expect something to come up and let you know what's changed, but in this instance, nothing's changed. You do have a windscreen button, so you can make it blow onto that and it's guaranteed to know that it's blowing on that, but the one that changes between your feet and your body, yeah, it's pretty non-existent. So this one seems to be quite a low spec BMW, so if you were looking at one of these and you're happy with the spec what this one's got, then you can pretty much guarantee that every single one on the market's got at least this. I know that the displays in the middle do get bigger. This is a small display. I know that there's a lot of blank buttons in here, so there's definitely a lot of optional extras missing. And I know that the multi-function wheel that is pretty typical in BMWs, this is definitely not one of the top level ones. There's definitely something above this that lets you navigate and draw and that sort of stuff. That being said though, even though it is quite a low spec BMW, everything's, I'm sure it's not actual leather, but on the dashboard it's giving the indication that it's leather. It's like double stitched, buttoned up together, a nice stitch line going all the way through. All the dashboard's nice and squishy. There's none of this cheap plastic. And maybe this is comparing with the Audi Q2, and the Audi Q2 when I test drove some time ago, you put these two cars next to each other, and if you are looking at a Q2 and this at the same time, and maybe because of COVID you can't go and view them both and you are just going to try and look for videos on them, I suggest you watching that other one. But the build quality in this compared to the Q2 is tenfold better, like way better. And I am an Audi man, so for me saying that as an Audi man, I mean you're pretty much guaranteed that yeah, you're going to be happy with the finish in this car, and I would be thoroughly upset if I'd have bought the Q2 without knowing what that interior was like. Again, pretty standard spec seats in this, but they are quite figure hugging. If anything, they're a bit on the small side for me anyway. Not that I'm like super stacked, but I do definitely feel it squeezing my back a little bit, and after a couple of hour drive the other day, it was just that little bit uncomfortable for me. I was certainly glad to get to the end of my drive, but that's probably not going to be a problem for most people. I'm carrying a bit of timber from lockdown, so maybe that is my fault again. But yeah, they're definitely snug seats, but they're a nice finish. We've got these nice lines going down the middle, and I feel like it just adds a bit of something else to what otherwise would be just a standard cloth seat. And without that, it kind of would have looked like Corsa-esque, I would imagine. I mean, maybe it still does to some people, but it's it definitely just adds that little bit to it. You do get some lovely mood lighting around the sides here and all the doors. Of course, you can't really see it very well during the day here, but at night, yeah, that lights up all the way around. It's quite nice to have. And it is very, very, very economical. Now, I've been, like I say, I put some miles on this, and I have been not incredibly kind to this vehicle. At the same time as driving this, I've been testing out the new Road Angel, which is going to be in a video later. So I definitely have been using this car, should I say, without incriminating myself. And it's been getting really, really good miles per gallon. I've not seen less than 40 miles per gallon. And I think if I were to really push the boat out with this, I'm going to Google some specs and maybe correct myself, but maybe pushing 60 miles per gallon from this, it glides, it pulls well, it's keeping the mile per gallon. Maybe that's just where we are with economy at the moment, and I shouldn't be as shocked as I am, but to be getting 40 miles per gallon after the way that I've driven it, yeah, that has impressed me quite a lot. One thing I think it could benefit from is just a black roof lining. I don't know why they keep reverting back to grey roof linings. It just makes it feel a lot nicer with a black roof lining, I think. And if that was an option when I was buying this car, I definitely would have ticked that box. I'm not 100% if it is an option, but yeah, it just makes it all feel a little bit more, I don't know, cosy and dark and cleaner to me. The sound system, again, although this has not got an upgraded sound system, it's fantastic. Now, because I've been doing quite a lot of driving in this, I've been using this for work, so I have been driving some miles in this. I have been using the navigation quite a lot. Now, I don't always get on with proprietary navigation. I'm a massive fan of car companies allowing you to download Google Maps or Waze or whatever mapping system you want onto your head unit, and then you can use whichever one you want. So I'm not a huge fan of using their version, but this one, I'm pleased to report, is easy. It's very easy to do. It helps with the control buttons down here and your control wheel. That is pretty simple. And when I first got my BMW X6, I was not a massive fan of that, but it has definitely grown on me. I definitely prefer this now over most of the other control systems in other vehicles. But I guess that's always one of them things that you're probably going to think it's crap, and then you'll get used to it, and then you'll be really happy with it. So of course we've got ISOFIX in this front seat here, and we've also got ISOFIX in the two rear seats at the back. So if you do have children, this is going to be pretty ideal for that. The rear doors open quite wide, and the hole to get in through the rear doors, I know that might sound odd, but it's big, and you do sometimes get cars that do have really small, although the door is big, the hole to get in is usually quite small. So this shape of vehicle, this shape of 2 Series has obviously been developed around practicality. And yes, I think the 2 Series Coupe, it looks like a smarter vehicle, but in terms of practicality, there's no doubt that this is the better 2 Series. Simple as that. It just is. And I think one of the most surprising things about this is the boot space. The boot is massive, and I'm not sure why I was so shocked at the boot, but I think it's because the car from the outside looks quite a compact car, but it's actually quite bigger. Of course, I think the name dictates that it should be slightly bigger than the 1 Series, but it almost doesn't look bigger than the 1 Series. But then the boot space speaks for itself. So I mean, all round, I think that it is a fantastic car. And I keep saying this about new cars, and they're all pretty good cars. But I think we're getting to a point now where every single new car on the market, it's like they're all pretty much copying off each other. So it all depends on where your loyalties lie with branding, really. You know, if you weren't a car enthusiast, then probably the car for you is probably going to be a Kia. But if you're a BMW enthusiast and you're getting to that stage in life where mobility is maybe not that great, and you still want to keep your BMW, and you want to have that ease of access to be able to put a pram in the boot with little to no threshold that you're going to scratch the vehicle with, and then this is probably a suitable choice for you. This is probably the perfect choice for you. And I've test driven lots of other vehicles like this, but this is probably, I would say, one of the best in the field. Just the whole package, what it gives off, from the media system to the clocks to the economy to the boot space to the way that the rear doors open, to just the whole feel of the interior, the quality of the interior. it is definitely up there with the best of this style of car.